Welcome back. Today we are going to be going over 4 of my go-to vegetarian meals that I love, that my family loves, and that are healthy, nutritious, but most importantly, frugal. Right now, as you know, we are going through a period of inflation, and not only does that mean that food is getting more expensive, but at least in my area, it's becoming harder and harder to find meat. There are certain stores that still always have it, so no need to panic, but the store that's closest to me, which is Walmart, they have not had chicken the last several times I've been. So we have been incorporating vegetarian meals in our weekly menu for probably 2 or 3 years now, 2 to 3 times per week. So I've had plenty of time to find family favorites. And like I said, the best part about these recipes is that they are frugal, so they are going to save you money. So this first recipe that I'm going to be showing you is something that I make all of the time. My family loves it for dinner, for lunches, and I have a daughter who even eats it sometimes for breakfast. And that is my famous black bean recipe. So today we're gonna be making the black beans in the Instant Pot. Actually, it's the Go Wise because it's the really, really big one. And I'm gonna be doing rice with that, and we're gonna serve it with tortilla chips, taco shells, soft shell tortillas, whatever the person wants, basically, is what they can have. And shredded cheese, chopped up tomato, shredded lettuce, hot sauce, sour cream, all of those things. So basically it's like a make your own plate type deal, but the foundation of it all is these really, really delicious black beans. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I already have in my pressure cooker 8 cups of rinsed black beans. You can kind of see them down there, and I filled up the pressure cooker, not quite to the line, a little bit below that, just because I was tired of waiting for it to fill up, not for any particular reason. So let me go ahead and place this over here so that you can watch me add in the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so I don't really carefully measure any of this anymore because I've made it so many times, but I'm gonna try here. So this is half a tablespoon of black pepper, and then this is probably gonna seem like a ton of salt, but you have to remember there's at least 2 gallons of water in here. So I'm gonna be doing 5 tablespoons of salt. If you don't add enough salt, your beans are not gonna taste good. So you have to go ahead and do this, and just remember that the water dilutes it, and you're not going to be eating all of that. So that's 5 tablespoons of salt. And then let's see here. I like to do probably about 3 heaping tablespoons of cumin. And so I use these chopped onions, and I'm actually not even gonna measure. I'm just gonna dump some in. If I were measuring, it would probably end up being about half of a cup. And then normally I use regular garlic powder, but I have this fine garlic powder that I'm just trying to get rid of. So I'm gonna use this instead, and I'm gonna dump some. Probably about 2 tablespoons worth. And then I'm gonna use some of this minced garlic. I actually need to get some more of this. Why is it that it always sticks? Actually, I know the answer to that. It's because garlic juice is sticky. So I'm gonna do, well, honestly, I'm just gonna dump what's left in here. There's probably 3 or 4 tablespoons, heaping tablespoons left in here. Okay, good enough. And then the secret ingredient is bay leaves. I buy my bay leaves at Sam's Club now. They have very nice looking leaves, and I go through one of these containers probably about every 3 months because I use a lot of these. So let's see, I measure this with my heart. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I'm gonna go for 10 today. 9, 10. Okay. So that is it. Now I'm just going to give it a quick stir. Okay, quick stir. And I am going to put on the lid. Okay, so now I do a manual time. Hold on, I have to remember how to do this. Oh yeah, okay. So for these beans, you can do it for as little as 45 minutes, and this is without a pre-soak. But I'm gonna go ahead and do it for 60 because I have plenty of time. So this is gonna go ahead and start. It probably takes close to an hour for it to even get to pressure. So this is gonna probably be like a 2-hour process, but it is only 1:30 here and dinner is not until 6. So we have plenty of time here. Okay, the beans are ready and everything is laid out. So we have the rice. This is jasmine rice. The black beans. There you go. And I serve it with, I shredded up some green iceberg lettuce because it's nice and crunchy. We have out flour tortillas, chopped up Roma tomatoes, sour cream, chopped up red onions, shredded cheddar cheese, salsa, and tortilla chips. So it's basically take what you want, make it how you want, and of course the Chipotle Tabasco sauce, that is super important for me at least. So this is vegetarian meal number 1. Okay, today I am making an Italian style lentil soup. Now, my mother-in-law is actually the one who taught me how to make this, and we don't use a recipe for it at all. It's, you basically use the vegetables that you have in your refrigerator and lentils, and then you puree it all up and serve it with orzo pasta. So today, normally I would use onions and celery and carrots and lots of garlic, but I don't have any celery today, and I do have some bell peppers that did not get used last week. So I will actually be doing onions, bell peppers, baby carrots, lots of garlic, and then of course the lentils and vegetable broth. So let's go ahead and get started prepping the vegetables. Now, one thing to remember is we're gonna be pureeing this, so I don't have to dice everything up really small because it's just going to be, it's just gonna be pureed. So this soup, it has become a bit of a family tradition. Every time I've had a baby, my mother-in-law has come to the house and she has made this soup. I think the first time she made it when my son, who is now 19, was first born, she told me this is really good for nursing mothers and it has iron in it. So it's great for recovering after childbirth. And so it has become a tradition, and she has come down every single time I've had a baby and made it for us. So it has a sentimental place in my heart. Okay, let's go on over to the stovetop. That's maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Here, you need 2. So I'm just waiting for this to heat up. Let these saute a little bit, not too terribly much, before I go ahead and add in the broth, water, and the lentils. So right now, while this is doing this, I'm going to go ahead and wash the lentils. So yeah, can you go outside and get the big thing of lentil water? going to use several big heaping tablespoons of this garlic. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of browning that has happened yet, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes, and then we'll go ahead and add in the broth and everything. This is what it looks like now, and I'm going to go ahead and add the water and the lentils now, and some vegetable base. This is 6 cups of lentils. And you can, of course, use half as much for a smaller family. We're feeding 12 over here. Okay, now I'm just going to add water until it's covering the lentils by plenty. The lentils are going to absorb a lot of the water, so you want to start with more water than you would think. Okay, now I'm going to add in 5 bay leaves. You can add as many as you want. I just need to know what number I'm using so that I can pull them out before I blend the soup. Okay, so there's my 5. Actually, I'm going to do 6. 6 bay leaves. And then I'm going to put the lid on and let that come to a boil. I'm going to be adding salt after it's done cooking because sometimes the salt can prevent the lentils from softening. So just to play it safe, it doesn't always happen that way, but just to play it safe, I'm gonna wait to do that. Okay, so while I'm waiting on the soup to cook, I'm gonna go ahead and put some sourdough bread dough in the oven. This has been in the refrigerator for over 24 hours, so it'll have a nice open crumb. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this while the soup is simmering and all of that jazz. This has nothing to do with a vegetarian meal, but it certainly makes a meal more filling when you serve it with bread. So I have 2 of these banneton baskets, and this is normally what I would use, but I made enough dough for 3 loaves, so these 2 were already taken when I was doing this, so that is why this bowl is actually in this stainless steel bowl. So I'm gonna carefully unwrap this, and I'm going to put some cornmeal on the top so that it doesn't stick to my parchment paper. Okay, now I'm going to put my parchment sheet here, and I'm going to flip it over, and hopefully we will not have any accidents or anything like that. We'll see. It's always a gamble with the bowl. Yay, it worked. Okay, so as you can see, it's a pretty, it went over the edge of the bowl a little bit, so there's a little weirdness there. But other than that, we have a very nicely shaped sourdough bowl here. So now I'm going to put flour on top, and I'm gonna slash it, and then I'll go ahead and take my Dutch oven out of the oven and put this in it. Okay, let me grab my knife. Okay, so I'm just gonna be cutting an X in this. Nothing too fancy. I would really love to learn how to do the beautiful designs that I see on Instagram, but for now, this will do. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and get the Dutch oven out. And so now I'm just lifting this parchment in here and putting the lid back on top. And it is going into a 450-degree oven. It's going to cook on 450 degrees with the lid on top for 30 minutes. Then I'll be removing the lid, turning the temperature down a little bit to 400 degrees for another 15 minutes. Okay, so one thing that you have to be really careful of is you have to skim off the scum that comes to the top once the lentils start boiling. So I'm going to do that now. And sometimes you have to do it a few times throughout the cooking period. Okay, I have a pot boiling here for the orzo. Now it has some broth in it too, which gives the orzo a lot more flavor. You're not going to cook this according to package directions. You're actually just going to keep cooking it until it's absorbed the majority of the broth, and I'll show you what that looks like when it's actually done. Over here, the lentil soup is done. The lentils are tender, the carrots are tender, so those are the two indicators you're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that all the way down. And then over here, the bread is out of the oven, the sourdough bread. I'm waiting for it to cool a little bit before I start peeling the parchment paper off and get that cut, but it looks really, really good. And then over here, I went ahead and sliced up the half loaf of the sourdough bread that I had from last night. And see, it has a really beautiful open crumb. It's really, really delicious. Okay, over here, the bread is being sliced. It is still very warm, so it's breaking down a little bit, but that's okay. We have Parmigiano Reggiano here that has been grated, and we're all snacking on the caramelized onion cheddar cheese from Trader Joe's. It's delicious. So over here, the lentil soup is ready to be blended up with the immersion blender. We're going to do that here. And then back on the back burner, this orzo is getting very close to ready. So you can see there's not a lot of water left in here. So I'm probably going to let this go for another probably minute or two, and then I'll turn the burner off and call the kids in to set the table. And by the time we're ready to eat, this will be perfect. So let's go ahead and blend up the soup. And then after I blend it, then I will season it with the salt and pepper. I've already pulled out all 6 of the bay leaves. The last one is all. Okay, I think, yep, okay, it's perfectly smooth now. So now I'm just gonna season with the salt and pepper, and we will be good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and plate this up and take a look at how this orzo is. See, it's not normal. It has a lot of extra liquid in it, but that's how it's supposed to be. So you're gonna put orzo at the bottom of your bowl, and then you're gonna ladle the soup on top. Now this is probably the most unappetizing soup you'll ever eat, but it is delicious, and it is a very frugal soup to make too, because you just use all of the vegetables you have in your refrigerator and some lentils. So you add your lentils on top, and then if you have it, some freshly shredded Parmigiano Reggiano sprinkled on top, and then let me grab the pepper grinder and just put some freshly ground pepper on top. And then you have a delicious meal. And then over here is the bread. You want a nice crusty bread for dipping. Look at that open crumb. Isn't it gorgeous? I'm so proud of this bread. So you use a nice crusty bread for eating with this soup. It's all very rustic, and it is just a fantastic meal. Okay, today we are going to be making cherry tomato and feta pasta sauce. This was a recipe that went pretty viral on TikTok, and I've tried it several times, and every time it's been a hit. So that is what we are putting together today. I'm going to be doubling the recipe for my family, but I'll put the normal size recipe in the description box below. Okay, so here's my crock pot. I have already washed 4 clamshells of cherry tomatoes, and some of the kids have been in these, so this is not 4 full clamshells. These tomatoes were getting to the point too where they needed to be eaten or thrown out, so that is one of the main reasons why we're doing this recipe today, is so that the food doesn't go bad. Okay, cherry tomatoes are like bananas in my family. Sometimes we eat a ton and sometimes we do not. Okay, so all of the cherry tomatoes are in here now. Now I'm gonna be putting 2 8-ounce blocks of feta cheese in here. I get this at, oh shoot, what's it called? I get this at Aldi. It's a good price there. Now I have 12 peeled garlic cloves, and I'm gonna put those in here as well. Okay, I also have 2 blocks of the light cream cheese. This is also from Aldi. It's labeled as Neufchâtel. It's just lower in fat. So I'm gonna add both of those. That's for creaminess. Okay, now I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil on top, not a whole lot. I'm actually just gonna use as much as I have left in here. That's probably, I don't know, about a tablespoon, I guess. Add that to the grocery list. And then I have a spice blend here. This is kosher salt, red pepper flakes, thyme, and oregano. I'm just gonna sprinkle this over the top. And then I'm going to put some fresh ground pepper. Okay, this is gonna go on low for 6 hours. About halfway through, I'm going to stir it up and kind of smash some of the cherry tomatoes a little bit, or you could do it on high for 4 hours. So depending on how much time you have, that's what it is. I will show you what it looks like at the halfway point, and then when it's time to serve it up. Okay, this has been cooking now for 4 hours on low. So I am just going to stir up the cream cheese and the feta, and then pop these grape tomatoes so that it can start turn into more of a sauce than a solid. Okay, that's enough for now. There's still some that need to be popped, but we will work on that right before serving. Give it one more stir, and then I'm gonna let it keep cooking for a few more hours. Okay, you can start with that. So here is the sauce. It's totally done. And now I'm gonna go ahead and pour the pasta in, and then I'll be adding some pasta water because otherwise it'll be too dry. So let's get the pasta in. Okay, the pasta is mixed in, and at first glance it definitely looks like it's just fine and ready. But because I've made this recipe so many times, I know that in about 15 minutes, the pasta is gonna soak up a lot of the juices and it's gonna dry out. So I'm gonna go ahead and ladle in some of this pasta water to prevent that from happening, because I want it to stay nice and saucy. Okay, there we go. Vegetarian, frugal, and delicious. Okay, welcome back. Today we are going to be making the final vegetarian meal for this video. It is going to be black bean salsa soup. It is a super easy meal. It is super frugal. It comes together really in less than 5 minutes. And so it's one of those that it's great. It's like a pantry meal. You can always have the ingredients on hand. So it's one of those really great last minute meals. So we are going to make that today. Okay. To start off, we're going to do 6 cups of vegetable broth. Now, normally I would just be using Better Than Boullion for this. I gotta measure. The vegetable Better Than Boullion, but I'm out and I'm not getting over to Costco until maybe this weekend. So I was at Aldi, I grabbed 2 boxes of this vegetable stock. So we're using 1.5 boxes of that. And then we are going to, so now I need 4 cups of salsa. You can use whatever spice level your family prefers. Some of my little kids are sensitive to spice, so I just use mild. And then we can always add some additional heat to it with Tabasco or cayenne pepper or whatever. Okay, there's 4 cups. We're gonna pour that in. There we go. Okay, I've already rinsed 8 cans of black beans. And so this recipe is quadrupled for my gigantic family. So I will put the normal size recipe in the description box, but this is for 12 people. So for a smaller family, you don't have to have that much. Okay, so I turned the burner on and now I need to just add in some cumin and let it come to a boil and then puree it. Like, it is so fast to make this soup. Okay, the actual recipe only calls for a teaspoon of cumin, which would mean I was using a little bit over a tablespoon, but I think that that's ridiculous. So I'm gonna measure with my heart and end up with about 2 tablespoons. But sometimes it's more than that. Okay, let me stir it. Okay, I'm just gonna stir this up. And then once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna let it boil for like 3 or 4 minutes. And then I'm going to puree it with my immersion blender again. And we are going to have a delicious dinner. I'll just talk until we get to that point. So normally I will serve this with shredded cheese and sour cream, hot sauce, and then tortilla chips. And it's one of those soups the kids can eat it with this tortilla chip. You can even get the little kinds that are little scoopers if you want, or I like to just crumble up tortilla chips and put those in mine. You could even omit the vegetable broth if you wanted to make a black bean dip. The flavor really turns out to be delicious. So this is, like I said, this is a great emergency meal when you got home late from getting your hair cut and only have 5 minutes to get dinner on the table. This recipe is fantastic for that. So trying to think, is there anything else I want to talk about? I don't think so. So we're just gonna wait for the recipe to come to a boil and then I will show you how I blend it up with my. Okay, so here is what the soup looks like after it has come to a boil. And now we're gonna go ahead and blend it up. If you do not have an immersion blender, you really need to get one. They're not too expensive. I'll link one on Amazon, but they are kind of life-changing for things like this. Okay, so this is totally smooth. You could leave it a little bit chunky if you wanted to. My kids expect it to be smooth, so that's how I do it. This is just how I've always done it. So this really, I accidentally pressed the button. That did not go everywhere, so that is a good thing. Okay, so let's see if we can add all of this up in our head. A can of the black beans at Aldi is 55 cents, so we used 8 of them. So that's gonna be $4.40 approximately. I'm not great at doing math on the fly, so bear with me. So that's $4.40. Then I used 1.5 jars of the salsa. I think that was about, we'll just say $1.50 for each, so that's $2.25 plus our $4.40. So what are we at now? 6, we'll just round up to 7. And then let's see what else. I used 1.5 cartons of the vegetable stock, which was $1.28. So we're just gonna call that $2.50. added to 7. So basically, for less than $10, you can have a giant pot of soup for your family of 12, or if you have a family with a lot less, you could cut that in half. So this is definitely one of the more frugal meals. It is by far the easiest dinner that I make, and it comes together faster than anything else. So this is kind of a favorite, and the best part is everybody loves it, even my very pickiest eater. Actually, I have one really picky eater who just has to eat whatever we make and just doesn't always eat his full dinner. But so we have one really picky eater, and then I have one that's a quasi picky eater, and they both love this. So I would definitely try this one. Try this one first. It will make your life a lot easier. So I hope that you enjoyed these vegetarian meals. Let me know in the comments if you end up trying one. I will put all of the recipes in the description box, and let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Bye.